Hello, hello, hello. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Wonderful people. My fellow Wealth Bridges, it's great to be on with you today. What's going on, ladies? How you doing, Modupe? How you doing, Debola?
Blessed, highly favored.
Awesome,
You know,
awesome. How's
thank
everything
God
going,
for
Debola?
another day.
All right. Great, great, great. Welcome our audience. We just want to appreciate you. I'm here co-hosted by Mudupe and Adebola, my awesome World Bridges. And, we're so blessed to be able to bring, this content to you every single week. We just want to just appreciate you for tuning in every single time. If you haven't liked, you haven't shared, and you haven't subscribed to this channel, please, we strongly encourage that you do so. This would help us to continue to get to a larger audience just because of your help. And I believe we've been bringing awesome content to you. And if you like what we've been bringing, please put in the comments. Today, what we're going to be looking at, like we in our last episode, we talked about estate planning and why
Hmm.
it's important. This episode, we're going to be talking about the protection gap. What do we mean when we're talking about the protection gap? This is another way of what we talked about in estate planning as a protection, such that your family is not exposed and your wealth is not, it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, but goes into the hands of your loved ones the way you designed it to be. So as
Yeah.
we are talking about today, our topic, protection gap, why do our focus is really going to be why many high earners are one illness away from financial disaster. And you and I could all agree that illness is not a matter of if, it's
Hmm.
a matter of when. you know
When
None
mm,
of us knows the next time, and we can see several statistics of the rate of stroke, heart attack, and all these maybe critical, chronic, or terminal illness, or even disability. We could see
mhm,
how these erodes people's finances. And we don't talk a lot about these, especially in our diasporan community. So
mm,
this episode, we just want to kind of like flesh this topic. So when we talk about protection, this just could be the ability to shield yourself from unexpected and uncontrollable external events or threat. The ability to protect or to prepare against unforeseen circumstances
mm,
or threat posed by external events or forces. So let's look at some of the potential risks that individuals, families, or institutions could be exposed to. You know, there are so many risks. We could talk about your health risk. We could talk about, taxes, legal risk, market volatility. But today, our focus is on illness. And when I talk
mm.
about illness, what are we focusing on? We're talking about maybe critical, chronic, terminal illness. We're talking about probably even disability. So my first question, will be going to, Modupe to really explain to us, what is protection gap and how does this impact, people's, financial stability?
Hi, community members. I hope this meets you all very well. Okay. And thank you very much, Demola, for that question. What is protection gap? I like to start from the fact that many people do not see portfolios from a protection perspective. So they look at portfolios from an investment perspective. So our conversation today, right, while we talk about protection gap, will really onto the fact that there is something out there called protection portfolio. So what is this gap? What is this gap? It literally means the difference between what people think is covered and what is actually protected. So people have an illusion to say that, yes, I have a good paying job. I have this asset. I have this and I have that. So in their mind, they think they have it all covered, right? But in reality, not everything particularly is protected. And let's make it a little bit relatable. Many assume that their job benefit, because I have a good job, I have a good paying job, right? That their job fully will protect them because of all of these beautiful benefits they have. in the case of, disabilities. You talked about all these chronic, terminal, and, critical illnesses that comes to an individual, not, if it comes, but when it comes, right? Now, disability coverage will only replace a portion of the income. Most of the time, maybe 60%. In other times, maybe even lesser. And the disability is not going to be forever. It's not a forever perpetuity, benefit. It's often on a temporary basis, you see. Now, this gap becomes evident during a crisis. When it happens, when you are not expecting it to happen. And at that point in time, income drops drastically. When income drops drastically, those expenses, those bills that are usually coming in, they're not going to stop, unfortunately. So protection gap is really sincerely having an honest conversation with yourself and saying, what is actually protected and what is the illusion that I'm having out there that I think is covered? Many people go around and say, yes, oh no, I don't need that. My workplace covers it. Mr. A, Mrs. B, what if your job that has the power to hire or fire you tells you tomorrow that it was nice doing business with you? You don't carry over those benefits. And what if those unforeseen contingencies does happen during that time? I think that's a food for thought.
Yeah, and thank you, Modupe, for spotlighting that, because a lot of people don't think about these things. And just to to lay more foundation on that, what you just your description of protection gap, Adibola, today we see a lot of people that say, I'm a high end, I'm earning 6 figures, I'm earning 7 figures, but some of these high earners, they still face financial risk despite making substantial income. So, why do these high earners, why do they still face this financial risk despite the fact that they believe that, they're they're high ballers and they're making all this income? Why do they still face financial risk? Adibola, yeah.
It's simple, just because income is, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yeah. I said it's quite simple. It's just because income is not the same as financial security. It's a different thing for you to have income, and it's another thing to be secured financially. So many high earners still face risk due to a few key gaps. One is the lifestyle inflation. We've been talking about lifestyle inflation. It keeps reoccurring because it's what is reality. And as income grows, expenses rise as fast, sometimes even faster. So leaving little room for savings and investments. Another reason is lack of structure and planning. There has to be structure. There has to be a plan in place. High income without a clear plan like budgeting, investing, protection, often leads to poor money decisions. People begin to spend their money without even, knowing that, they are being aware of what they're doing. And at the end of the day, you just find out that you're making the money and it's gone before you know it. So we have to also be aware of that. There is the over-reliance on one income source. That's old school. If that income stops, job loss, illness, burnout, the lifestyle collapses quickly. That's the truth. You can't rely on one income source. There has to be something that is making money for you, like they say, while you're sleeping. All right? So inadequate protection is also something that we need to consider. Without insurance or estate planning, like we discussed last week, one unexpected event can wipe out years of earnings.
That's right.
So it's not just about making the income. It's not about making the income. Debt also disguises as success. In some cases, high earners often carry large mortgages, car loans, or credit debits that quietly increases their risk. financial risk. So my takeaway is that high income can create that illusion. It can create that illusion of security, but without discipline, protection, and strategy, it can be just as fragile as low income. So we have to be careful. That's all I've
That's
got. Imola.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to really put that in perspective, we have to understand that, it's we talked about, the fact that illness is something that you and I have no control. So as you continue to think about all these other things that, you think your finances are secured and all this, but guess what? If you become incapacitated because of an illness, everything you've worked for, how long will that savings last you before you become in financial chaos? And that's really what we're trying to emphasize here. The need for you to protect your income, to protect yourself, such in case if an illness, if you became sick for any reason whereby your income is protected, what is your income replacement strategy? Such that your finances will continue, your financial obligations doesn't skip a beat because you're financially or you become sick. So this is something that we really need to start thinking about, especially in our community, because we feel like we could just wake up and just go to work the next day. But how many people do wake up and they wake up with a stroke? How many people wake up and they wake up, with something? We don't pray that anything happens, but guess what? God has also given us wisdom. We're all believers, but God has given each and every one of us wisdom. So my next question to you, Modupe, is, why should income protection be prioritized over investment growth? this is a good one.
Thank you, Demola. I didn't even know you were going to ask this. So if you remember my opening earlier on, I talked about two portfolios. There is the protection portfolio and there is the investment portfolio. Now, there is a particular engine that runs both portfolios, both the protection as well as the investment. It's the income. Debola talked about having these multiple income streams such that, you're not heavily dependent or reliant on a particular source. Now, the income is the engine that drives every financial strategy, be it your investment strategy, your saving strategy, your lifestyle. And so what does that literally mean? It means that if the inflow of that income should stop today, everything else is interrupted. Everything else is affected. It comes slowly, and all of a sudden, it's just going to shut up. So protecting income ensures continuity, which means we're just not on this source, on this space. Oh, that euphoria of, I have a good job. Oh, I have a high paying this. I have a high paying that. What makes you think, sir and ma, that this is going to be permanent, right? Change is the only thing that is constant. And so income protection needs to be prioritized over investment growth, because in the event of that interruption that we're talking about here right now, even the investment will suffer. Without it, being put together properly, it will suffer. A well-built investment portfolio may just as well get depleted prematurely to cover basic living expenses in the event of anything called chronic, critical, or terminal. These I call them God forbid illnesses. In as much as I call them God forbid illnesses, I still say that make provision for such in the event it should happen. And that's the reason why in the world of accounting, you will find something called provision. We make those provision in the event certain things should occur. So we're not looking at ourselves and it's looking at us and it's like, what should we do? Protection is foundational, people. As you build your life here in diaspora, immigrants, as you build your life, get your new house, get your protection is foundational. You need to start from there. That is the foundation. If protection is not in place, it's like you just don't even have a foundation to begin with. How do you see yourself laying a foundation of a building and it has no foundation to begin with?
Hmm.
The foundation of that building in itself is your protection portfolio. Growth comes up as secondary. When that foundation is in place, we can start talking about emergency fund. We can start talking about what do you put in place in the event certain things should occur. That is you putting things in proper perspective. And you'll hear us talk about this over and over again. But these are conversations we have with our clients on a day-to-day basis. And if you're seeking and you're saying, I would like to learn more, I want to understand more of this conversation. I don't even know if I have a gap. Maybe I do, but I'd like to talk to a professional. Reach out to us. We will sit you down, identify what it is you have, understand your objective, and begin to guide you on the right path to take. No one should act as if we are no longer, aware of what's going on in our community. The era of us playing ignorance game, it's way long gone. If you're still in that class, you're probably the only one there. Back to you, Demola.
Wow, awesome. I definitely love how you kind of like just peeled everything, layer by layer, layer by layer. I hope our audience, I hope we're all listening and we're really catching these nuggets. And if you're getting some really, really heavy things from here, put something in the chat. If you have questions, put it in the comments. So we want to hear from you. Remember, if this is really bringing you a lot of value, continue to like, subscribe, and share. We definitely want to get your feedback. So I'm going to ask Debola, how can individuals choose the right protection strategies without falling into fear-based marketing? Because there's a lot of information. Just like we have this podcast now. Somebody might say, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed with this." What are these people are they trying to pigeon me all into one place? It's not about that. So as individuals, how can individuals choose the right protection strategies without falling into any fear-based, marketing?
Great question, Demola, because good protection planning should feel empowering, not fear driven. So let's just discuss some of the things that people can, how to choose the right strategies without falling into fear. And I have in my notes, the first thing says to start with your real risks, not worst case scenario. So what does that mean? Start with your real risks, not worst case scenario. That means you focus on what's most likely and impactful for your life. Income loss, dependence, debt, not exaggerated, what ifs. The real risks, not your worst case scenario. All right. The second thing I have is that follow a simple priority order. A simple priority order. And what is that? We talk about emergency fund, basic insurance, have a life insurance, you have health insurance, you have disability, but insurance is very important. And also an estate planning. You have to have an estate planning. You have to have an investment, and this just keeps decision logical, not like emotional. You're being logical about making those decisions. So follow a simple priority order. And number 3, I have ask, what problem does this actually solve? What problem does it solve? Every product or strategy should clearly protect something specific. If it's vague, it's a red flag. You have to know what problem that particular thing is going to solve. All right. And keep it simple. Keep it simple before complex. Keep it simple before complex. You don't need advanced or expensive structures, early on. Start simple. Solid basics, done well. We actually don't complicate it, not complicated plans. All right. You have to know, I mean, you have to make it as simple as something that you will understand and you'll be able to work with. The next one is separate education from sales. Learn the concepts first, then
Wow.
evaluate products. Don't let the product be your first introduction to the idea. You have to learn it, you have to know it, know what you're getting into. Okay. And work with professionals, transparent professionals, truth advisors who explain options. They explain options to you. They give you the details, what you need to do, what you need to get, not just one solution fits all. Professionals who are clear about the cost, the trade, or whatever you need to know. So don't just go for anything. Don't go for, just put this here and then you get this tomorrow. And remember to check affordability and sustainability. It's important. A good plan should fit your budget long term. If it strains your cash flow, it creates new risk. So my takeaway, this question is that protection planning isn't about fear. Like I said, it's about clarity, fit, and sustainability. If you understand what you're protecting and why, then you're going to stay in control of your decision. All the best.
Wow. Man, that was well said. Really, really love it. I really, really love it. Man, viewers, man, if you're not catching anything, I don't know if you're listening, but you need to be listening. And, like we said, this is targeted more for our people in the diaspora. We want you to be informed, because if you're informed, you do better. If you're not informed, you can't do better. The more information you have, the better. It allows you to be able to make informed decision when you're knowledgeable. My last question is going to go to Modupe. And, a lot of people will be saying, you guys are talking about protection against illness. And, God forbid, if something happened, I have critical chronic illness. What are the kind of solutions are out there that you could provide, or you could suggest to people out there? God forbid, if they had critical, chronic, or terminal illness, what kind of protection strategy can people like that take advantage of?
Thank you, Demola. I mean, this is so mind blowing. I'm here. I'm soaked in all the knowledge that I'm hearing myself, and you said it all. The particular strategy out there that any single person listening to us and saying, "Well, let me try and get myself or my hands wet or my family protected," is called income protection strategy. That's what it's called. And what does this strategy? What does it entail, or what does it provide for you? It gives you what is called living benefit. Okay. The product is actually going to give you what is called living benefit. And when it provides you with what is called living benefit, it literally means that even at your very miserable state, incapacitated mode state, you have access, right, to certain of this benefit if you do qualify for them. Many people try to wait till later. They hear it right now, they put it to the back burner. And don't forget, we already talked about this. This income protection strategy is your foundational, your protectional portfolio that you need to start with. So when you don't start with it and you wait till later to get it, you might not even qualify for search, because now you're considered very high risk and will not qualify for search. Okay. So if you're out there and you're like, I really desire to know more about this, reach out to any one of us. Debola said something, and which is one of the things, we hold very high esteem here. We are trustworthy. We are individuals with integrity. We are individuals who are out there to help our community. Now, if you think, whatever we're saying resonate with you, you think, what, I trust this fellow enough to reach out and have a conversation with us, then be our guest. So we can then show things to you and guide you on the path. Not every of these service-based products is for everybody, like Debola talked about. You need to understand if it's suitable for you. Now, even if it is suitable for you, are you able to afford it? Maybe you can't. Maybe you can. Right? Okay, now maybe you can afford it. Are you even going to qualify for it? We don't
Wow.
know. Until we have all this deep dive conversation, we would not know. But does things like strategy of this nature exist? Yes, it does. Income protection strategy. Be informed and do the needful. Don't wait till the very end before you start getting things done. Back to you, Nimala.
Wow, thank you so much, Modupe. I really appreciate, and as Modupe said, we're all, licensed financial professionals, and we're very, very seasoned. And, our goal is to constantly and consistently bring each and every one of you value. And if you want to know more, like Modupe said, reach out to any one of us. In closing, I want us to understand, our viewers, as you're watching, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're soaking this in. They often say no one plans to fail, but people fail to plan, unfortunately. So we have to be very intentional about laying a solid foundation, a solid financial foundation, which is the protection piece that we've been talking about. Before we can start building anything else on, before we start building anything, the protection must be the foundation of anything that we do. So you protect first, then you can start taking care of your debt. You start putting together emergency funds. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. Then you start investing, like any solid financial foundation. Like if you're liking into a house, you want to build from ground up. So the protection piece is so important, viewers. So like we said, if you really want to know more, reach out to any one of us. We believe we brought you a lot of value, today. Remember to continue to share, to like, and subscribe to our channel. And if we've been a blessing to you, please, reach out to us once again. I want to appreciate you, Modupe. I want to
Thank you,
appreciate you,
sir.
Adebola. It's been awesome being, on with you all today. And our viewers, till next episode, stay blessed, stay joyful, one love. God bless. Take care. All
Bye,
right. See you
everyone.
all. Take care.
Au
Thank
revoir.
you, Demola.
You're welcome.